welcome back to another episode of Corona Geek, here where we talk all about mobile app development using Corona SDK. I'm the host for today, Charles McKeever, and I'm joined with an incredibly smart panel of developers who are going to talk with us today about gaming. It's going to be a little bit of a gaming development roundtable. To my left, I don't know how it shows up on the screen, but to my left is Andres Lepel. Hey, Andre, how you doing?
I'm fine.
Is it Andreas or Andre? Oh, that's too much bandwidth. Okay. Andreas. Okay. And to my right is Ed Marina. Hello, Ed.
Hello.
Oh, and before I would go too far, I guess I should say that Andreas is the developer of Freeze, a mind-bending puzzle game, which I've been playing over the weekend, Andreas, and I have to tell you, man, I really like this game. I see why it won awards. Ed is the owner of Roaming Games LLC, where he develops libraries, templates, and other products to use with the Corona SDK. So thanks, Ed, for joining us.
Thank you. It's Roaming Gamer, just so you...
Did I say games?
Probably reading that. Well, yeah, you said games. It's okay. No problem.
Roaming Games, Roaming Gamer, Roaming Gamer.
You're close enough.
You're going to go buy that domain now, right?
I lost you there.
You're going to buy that domain name, right? Roaming Games now?
Indeed. There you go. I'm working on it right now.
and of course, next to him is Mohammed. Mohammed is our VP of Business Development here at Corona Labs.
How you doing, guys?
And he's joining us all the way from Dubai. So it's a very late night join for us there. So thank you for being with us, Mohammed. And
can't miss a show.
You're more dedicated than I am. And next to him is Robert Gleason, who is also the developer of Word Hunt. And Word Hunt is a wickedly smart word find game, and if you haven't had a chance to look at it already, I definitely recommend you go out and play it. I like it, and I think we're actually going to be using it. We homeschool our kids, so I think we're going to be using it for spelling lessons, just to reinforce word lists and things like that.
No, sounds good.
Yeah. So like I said, today's going to be a little bit of a developer roundtable. We're going to talk about some game development, and we've asked these game developers here to give us their insights on their apps, how they came to be, and we're going to be asking them some very specific questions. Before we get to that, though, we kind of need to talk about a few things, and one of those is an announcement that Corona paper issue number 3 is coming out in March, and it's a pretty special issue, I think. Especially since Corona Geek is going to be interviewed and featured in the magazine. So I'm looking forward to it. I got the opportunity to answer the questions and send in some headshots and stuff like that. And, it's really a lot of fun. If you haven't already, you need to go back and look at issue number 2, where they interviewed David Rowland, who is the ambassador in Sweden. I think it's Sweden or Switzerland. I get confused. If it's not down the street, I get confused. And here in Texas, it's a big street. So, but he's overseas, and he does a great job of teaching people about Corona. He runs classes. He teaches a bunch of students, and also does a lot of things with hackathons and stuff like that. So that's a really good interview that you should check out in issue number 2. So we're looking forward to this. So if you haven't had a chance, go over to look at coronapaper.com. Check them out. They've got a lot of great articles in there, a lot of great code snippets, things like that. So it's definitely something that you're going to want to take a look at if you haven't already. Now, so one of the things that we missed last time, and I say I missed last time, was that build 1030 actually had a thing where they turned off the default Android permissions, and well, they didn't turn them off. They actually made it so that the default Android permissions weren't there. So what essentially that means is that if your app needed, or if your app doesn't need certain permissions, those are already turned on by default. And when your app was being published, then it was asking for it would load up, it would ask for these permissions to be allowed, and it wasn't always required. So what they did was they went ahead and they turned those off. And so I'll put a link in the show notes, but there's actually a blog post about it where they said to say goodbye to default Android permissions, and so they've set that, taken that in a totally different direction, which should be a better user experience for everyone, and hopefully make a just a better experience for developers in general. So check that out. That's in build 1030, and also in build 1034, widgets were released, and so that really kind of happened last week, the end of last week. And so essentially with the widgets being released, widgets 2.0 being released, it's a rewrite from the ground up. So essentially there's going to be a migration that's going to happen if your app has widgets 1.0, then they'll have to do a migration over to widgets 2.0. But widgets 1.0 has been open sourced. It's out there in the community, so if you want to continue to use it, you can. We highly recommend that you use widgets 2.0 just because there's a lot of, like I said, it was written from the ground up, so there's a lot of benefits to using the 2.0 widgets, and widgets 1.0 won't be supported going forward, so you'll definitely want to consider upgrading to that. So I will put a link to the show in the show notes to that blog post that Walter put out as well, because that's an excellent read, and he talks all about what's been updated in widgets 2.0 and gives you some reasons why you would want to migrate over. All right, one last thing, and that is that on the blog there was a guest post about Level Helper. So essentially, if you don't know what Level Helper is, Sprite Helper, or Code Helper, you're going to want to go check that out. I'll put a link in the show notes. But essentially, when you go over to Corona Labs, there's a lot of third-party tools that you can use in order to help build your apps. Do level editing, be able to do pack images all into sprite sheets and things like that. And when you're new to Corona, sometimes it's a little bit overwhelming as to what each one of these tools does and how you should be using them or not using them. And so this overview of Level Helper, Sprite Helper, and Code Helper is really a good insight into what the tools are, what they do, and why you should be paying attention to them. So I'll put a link to that in the show notes as well, but if you want to go to coronalabs.com/blog, you can check it out anytime. All right, so let's go ahead and get into our conversation today. Like I said, we've got Robert Gleason here, developer of Word Hunt. We also got Andreas Lapel, who's going to be he's the developer of Freeze. And we've got a little bit of a technical bandwidth issue for Andreas, so we may or may not be able to get him fully integrated into this conversation, but hopefully we will, because like I said before, I've been playing his app over or playing his game over the weekend, and it's really a very intriguing a game. So Andreas, can you hear us at all?
Yes, I can hear you fine.
Okay, so there's a little bit of a warble there and a little bit of a delay, so we'll try to work through those as best we can. So I'm going to lead off. But essentially, what I did, and I was talking to Robert about this earlier, is I sent questions to both you, Robert, and you, Andreas, and they were essentially the same questions. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to go through and ask these questions and kind of point them to each one of you, and if we can, let's go ahead and we'll go through them, but just know that they do overlap, and hopefully as the conversation progresses, we'll get some good information out of them. Okay, so Robert, I'm going to start off with you, and I'm going to ask, tell us a little bit about Learning Gems, just background information so people understand who Learning Gems is.
Okay, I'm with Learning Gems, and pretty much Learning Gems is a brand or a division of a larger company. Not large. We're talking 6 employees. The primary purpose or business was website development, search engine optimization. But a year and a half ago, we made the decision that we wanted to go into the app business, and so I'm pretty much the person spearheading that whole effort for us. And Learning Gems is the brand that we ended up coming up with. We picked it for our target audience. We're looking at doing educational apps for kids. So again, we started probably about a year and a half ago releasing our first app, and as of today, I think we have about 24 smaller apps out, but about 24 altogether.
Who's this? Hey, all right. Well, we've got Gerald Bailey's joining us. Gerald, you're probably muted. And hey, can you hear us?
Hey, I can hear you just fine.
All right, and we got Matthew Chapman joining us as well. Hey, Matthew.
How you doing this morning?
Hey, we're good. We're all over the place today, man. This is like just an everything show. we don't have a structure. I'm mispronouncing people's names and what domains.
Sometimes works better that way.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, whatever. Okay, so I think we were trying to talk to Andreas. He's in Germany, I believe, and I don't know that it's going to work out for us. Andreas, can you hear us? Okay. Well, if you can hear us, and if you want to join in at some point, you can try, and we'll definitely be willing to listen if we can get connected to you. So, okay. So, Robert, so you said you've been working on.
Now I can hear you again.
Oh, there.
Yes.
Oh, there we go.
Hello?
You can hear us?
Hello, Charles.
Yes.
Yes, I can hear you again.
Okay. Give us real quick. Give us your background. Where have you come from as a developer, and how long have you been doing this?
I developed my first games in 1982 for a Sinclair ZX81, and it was all Z80SM, Commodore later, Computer QL, and Spectra Video SV328. Nobody knows about these computers anymore.
Okay.
And all we did. So after some years, the time started where the big companies started to make games. So single developers with only a few guys that helped with the art and music had no chance anymore. So I switched my job and I went to the printing industry and worked as editor-in-chief for different magazines, for science magazines and for computer games magazines. And when the mobile revolution started again, I said, okay, now I can do the only thing I really had fun with, doing games again with a small indie team. So I started beginning of last year to develop Freeze, mainly me, myself, and I, and one freelance artist and one guy for support for web page and doing some video editing.
Okay, so how long did it take you to develop that game then?
Yeah, it took me from January 2012 till November, but it was a night job. I only develop at night between when my family and my kids were sleeping, so I started 11 p.m. and normally programmed and coded till 2 a.m., slept a few hours, and then went to my main job for a German publishing house. So it's my indie team, and Freeze project is a side project I just had to do because the idea was so nice.
And Robert, for Word Hunt, how long did Word Hunt take?
Let's see. Word Hunt took altogether between myself and our graphic artist, I think we put about 3 weeks into it, but it was, for me, it was full time. It was 8-hour days.
Okay. And so whose idea was the Monty Python theme? That's what I'm calling it, the Monty Python theme.
The theme was actually came up with from our graphic artist with all these little games that we've been working on and everything. She's actually wanted to do something that was steampunk based graphically, and a couple other projects that we've recently had has got her interested. And so when we came up with the Word Hunt game, it was one of the first games where we wanted to purposely make it for not a specific age group. We wanted to make it so it would appeal to a larger age group than our other apps. So it was a perfect app for us to go ahead and work on a steampunk theme, or in this case, Monty Python.
yeah. I started to go with the steampunk thing, but that's almost it was almost one of those things where I figured the beauty of Monty Python. And I don't know if you know the story of this or not, but they said they were interviewed and they were asked, how did you come up with this Monty Python theme, right? This whole intro to the show and all this other stuff, and they said, well, we were on a tight timeline. We didn't have enough time to do anything really nice, so we just kind of cobbled all this stuff together, And I thought, well, that's genius, because most of the cool stuff that people do is the stuff that they do on the fly. The stuff that they do because they have to, not because they've had tons and tons of time to think about it. It's that mother of necessity sort of thing. So anyway, I just wanted to label it Monty Python. I thought because the app itself is extremely creative. I think because it plays on this the idea of the word finder, but brings to it it kind of owns it in the mobile space, I think, especially for things like being able to break the glass once you've found all the words in the hunt. You're able to break the tiles and they all sound like you're breaking glass.
Yeah.
Whose idea was that?
That actually came from my 7-year-old daughter. She just likes things to be able to pop or break in any games that we've made. And I must admit, she didn't get everything she wanted. She actually wanted small dinosaurs to come out of them once you broke them, but I left that part out.
Yeah, well, now you're just making it awkward. What about you, Andreas? Where did your theme come from?
It was quite easy. It was not an idea I thought about. I just make a performance test for Corona Labs SDK. I wanted to switch from developing with other mobile SDKs to Corona Labs SDK. So I just programmed a Box2D room full of black blocks that all connected to each other and bumped off each other. And it was quite boring. So I started to turn around to rotate the room, and it looked much more interesting. So I needed an object that would tumble around in this room. So of course I choose an eye, and I needed an exit, and a spiral nebula is quite obvious. So I guess most of the people who had the idea for the game, like me, would have chosen something like that. One guy, in fact, did. There is an app out there called Kado. It was released a long time before Freeze, and it looks, in that aspect, quite similar. It's an eye, a spiral nebula exit, and a room that you can rotate. It misses lots of the features that Freeze has, but when I encountered it after a few months of developing, it was quite a shock. But Freeze is unique enough to say it's a new game, but the ideas of an eye and the exit are not really original.
And when you're talking about the eye, you're talking about the eyeball itself?
Yes.
Okay, yeah, because I was going to...
eyeball that tumbles around.
I was going to ask you, how did you come up with this eyeball? But there you go. I guess that's the answer. So what about the rest of it? It seemed, Andreas, it seemed like there's the overall theme is sort of dark and kind of I don't know, creepy. Was that something that you borrowed from some other genre, or is that just something that you thought was cool to do?
I just borrow it from my basement because as a pure indie developer, I'm sitting in the basement at night and do some coding, and I cannot see colors down here. And I love the movie Metropolis by Fritz Lang, the German movie maker in the 30s. And the other thing is I did not have a game artist. My artist is a guy who does book covers, and he does this very good, but he never did a game before. So I thought for the first time I just take his strengths, that is playing around with the shadows and lighting and so on, and I don't want colors. That makes it easier for him, and he came up with quite a nice scheme.
Okay. Well, Robert, how much time do you think you spent on design?
Design itself went pretty quick. We probably spent about 2 weeks on the actual design.
Two weeks of concentrated time?
Yep, concentrated time.
Okay. Andreas, if you can hear us, I think we're going to have to hold off on asking you questions because we we're only getting bits and pieces of your answers. So I apologize for that. I wish we had a better connection. Okay, so that seems to be pretty good. And you said you have an in-house designer that you can work with all the time.
Yes, we have an in-house designer. Most of their hours are spent doing website design, but definitely has a great eye for doing app design. So I'll work on functions of a game and work on a lot of the function while waiting for the graphic artist time to be able to come back and get me graphics for a particular piece or an area or a game that we're working on.
Okay, now we talked about this last time in the last show, and that was kind of workflow. So what you're talking about there is being able to do just sort of parallel work while somebody's working on something else. So is that generally how you work in these situations, or is that just the case on Word Hunt?
In our situation, that's actually pretty common for us. For the most part, because graphic artist isn't full-time working on apps, I can work on functions of games in parallel when they get the chance to work on apps. It works out well because we're literally in the same office. So it works out really well for us to be able to, when she does have the time to jump on graphics, we're right here, we can talk face-to-face, so it's really quick for her to understand what functions I've got built and then give me graphical assets for those.
Okay. And I noticed that you guys had like you called it steampunk before. I noticed you guys had steam coming out of certain pipes and things like that at different intervals, which appeared to be more of an animation. Because it's steam, there's all these particles and stuff. What tools did you guys use for animation?
In Word Hunt specifically, we used Particle Candy. That was the one that we used for the steam effect, and as well as we used that for the breaking of the glass tiles.
Okay, so Particle Candy, and okay, so you said your daughter was the reason that you wanted to do the breaking tiles. Have you done anything like that in any of the other apps?
Yeah, we've done that in a couple of our apps. She just absolutely likes that, or young kids in general like that. I've seen that with a lot of kids' educational apps. Some sort of popping of balloons or bubbles or something like that, and we wanted this to appeal to a large range of age group, and so when she was pretty demanding at home that she wanted that in there, so I went ahead and put it in at the end. Plus, I was looking for something to add a little bit of flavor towards the end of the game. Otherwise, it is just a word search game. So we were looking for something a little bit more playful to go with it anyway.
Okay. Yeah, you should get some points or something for how many things you can break. So what did you use for audio? Where did you get your audio?
We look at a couple different sources for audio. We don't have any in-house talent for audio, so we end up purchasing most of ours, and one of the main sites that we go through is Audio Jungle. So that's one of the main sites we'll go through looking for audio that we can use.
Okay. And did you experience any challenges while you were putting this thing together?
Building a dynamic grid based on a custom list of words, that was probably the biggest challenge that we had.
Yeah, I would imagine so. I mean, and you guys allow people to create their own lists. So
yeah, that was intentional. We were looking for that piece to set us apart from everybody else that's got that same type of game out there. So that was really a critical piece for us. If we were going to take this on, we definitely wanted to be able to allow you to create your own list and have it dynamically build the word grid for you.
Okay. So is there any tips or tricks that you can share on how you overcame that challenge?
Honestly, the biggest thing I did is I consulted with another developer who's really good with SQL databases and databases in general. So before we even started, there was a lot of back and forth of how he would control it going through if it was just all SQL based, and we toyed with that a little bit, but at end result we did it all through just Lua.
Oh, okay, yeah, that is kind of interesting. I mean, I guess you could pull all of your stuff from the database and then and then you would have to just, I don't know, maybe create that as a string and then populate from there. Or, I mean, that's an interesting problem.
we were going to use a large database of words and just allow for just a huge pull of just random words into a list, using SQL to filter out what words would fit into what spots. Just ended up being the speed of those searches just wasn't working out the way we like. So we went with just a smaller, concise list, and then just built those grids just using Lua to do most of the math for it.
Okay. So are all those word lists then they're actually in the app itself? Is that what you're saying?
Yes.
Okay. So if you want to publish new word lists as a developer, then you have to publish an update to the app.
Correct.
Okay. Interesting. So do you ever plan to, since people can create their own list, do you ever plan to allow people to be able to share their list with other people?
That's definitely not just with this particular app, but several of our apps. There's features that we would love to be able to create a server-side portion where people can create an account and then do exactly that. Share either word list, across platforms, as well as some of our other ones that are big are spelling games. People really want to be able to share those lists across. So that's something that we want to go towards. We just need the time to manage a server to host all of that.
Well, that sounds like something for Corona Cloud. That was actually aimed at Mohammed there.
I know. That was very subtle, I have to admit.
Subtle is my thing.
Didn't see that one coming. No, definitely. I think this is one of the things we're working on, sort of trying to help you guys at least provide a facility for you guys to provide user-created content. So free-form data stores, content delivery, and stuff like that. This is something that's very top on our list, and hopefully we'll get to roll out these features pretty quickly.
Yeah.
So, stay tuned.
That was one of the first things. Thank you, Mohammed. That was one of the first things that I thought. Like how anytime you take on a new game or whatever, the first you see all the hard work that the person put into it, but then you see the things that you want, right? So you'd like, as soon as I saw that there was a word list piece, I was like, wow, this would be great if I could share this with other people, because I being the dork that I am, I went in and created a Corona SDK word list and then filled in all the programming terms so that I could have this word hunt of programming terms. And I was like, hey, it'd be cool to share this with the community, so yeah, that would be fun. So what other tools did you use to build it then? Build word hunt?
Most pretty basic tools. I basically just, for writing the code in, I just use TextPad. It's a older program that we use mostly for websites, coding HTML5 and CSS rules and all that fun stuff for websites. So it's just easier for me just to stick with that for doing everything through Lua for Corona. So that was the main thing, and then I do use the physics editor for most of our physics objects that we use. Now, this game itself doesn't have that many of them, but those are the basic two tools that I've been using.
Okay. Do you have a favorite tool that you like to use during development? Is there something that in particular you think saves you a lot of time?
Honestly, I haven't used too many other tools yet. I've been looking at a lot, but the physics editor definitely saves me a lot of time when it comes to anything we're doing with physics. Recently, I've been looking a lot at Spine and looking into that for our animations. We have things in the works, but nothing. We really haven't tackled anything with it yet.
Okay. Yeah. I downloaded Spine over the weekend because the Kickstarter campaign closed off, and I've been messing with it. It's pretty sweet. I want to create a series of videos on just to kind of show people how it works for those who haven't seen it in action with Corona. So hopefully I'll get some of that out this week. So what have you guys been doing to market the apps? I mean, when you go to learninggems.com, there's a whole list of apps that are there. So let's just talk about Word Hunt. What have you guys been doing to market Word Hunt?
For marketing, we basically have just done Facebook posting, as well as we do a PR web blast. So we do a PR blast for that. And then other than that, just pestering all of our friends and family, and we're just gearing up to. We've been more focused on building a base of applications, and we're gearing up for starting to try to promote not just any one of them, but all of them in general. So we're gearing up for a lot of that marketing push. We do have a person that's on staff for doing search engine optimization for websites. So we've been giving him tons of reading material to gear up for what we need to do for the app side of the business.
Okay, and yeah, thank you, Ed, for bringing up the website there. That's a good look at all the apps that you guys have got going on there. It was pretty enlightening, I thought, to go. I knew of Word Hunt, and I was like, oh, this is great, this is cool. And then I was like, I always like to go check out the website of the developers and stuff like that. And I got over there, and I was like, holy cow, there's a whole bunch of apps over here. So that's very awesome. I had a question there, and I can't remember what it was at the moment. I know what it was. You had written a blog post on the Corona Labs website about creating your brand.
Correct.
And I think it had mentioned something about your apps marketing themselves. So can you talk a little bit about what you explained?
Yeah. With the first couple of apps that we did release, we went with free apps with trying to do banner ads in the apps, and to be honest, that didn't work out well for us at all. We weren't making any kind of profit from those. So we shifted gears, and we decided to leave all banner ads behind in the true sense of a banner ad. What we have done is in all of our games, we created basically our own banner ad module that they look like banner ads, but we self-promote our own apps in each of our apps. So as more and more of our apps get out there, the only banner ads we're showing are ones that are our own, and with that, obviously, there's no cost per click or anything like that. But it has increased our traffic to our website tremendously just doing that. I mean, we've jumped over, I think 1,700 page views a day, where we started with nothing for the most part.
Yeah, that's good. That's a good strategy. I like that. It's very interesting. Years ago, and at a meetup, I was talking with somebody about some online marketing stuff, and one of the things that they had said was creating your own competitors, and the idea there was that you could have other physical competitors, or you could spin up your own, I think in this case it was websites, but you could spin up your own websites and get them all ranked and essentially push out these other competitors, and then for like page 1 on Google it'd be a wall of you, which is kind of what physical brand manufacturers do. When you go in and to look at let's just say if you go in to look at beer, there may be all these different what looks like these different niche beers and all that stuff like that, but when you get down to it and you look at who the parent company is, you find out that it's just Anheuser-Busch, but it's all this, and there's these whole planograms that are based on creating a wall, a billboard of product, so that when the consumer comes in, they look, whether it's toothpaste or beer or whatever you're looking at, this wall of that manufacturer's product. So it's kind of interesting to hear that you're taking and making every one of your apps a marketing vehicle for the entire portfolio of apps that you have. So that's kind of interesting.
Yeah, another aspect of that is we've done a couple of our games we've purposely have released free, and in those particular ones, we make our banner ads show up more often in more places, always on the screen. Same as you would do with any free app, but again, the whole purpose is just to cross-promote our other apps. So we release those to get a broader look at our brand, and then from there we're hoping they do like you did, visit our website and see everything that we offer.
Yeah, yeah. So, so Matthew, what do you think about that strategy? What do you think about the free app marketing strategy?
I think it's a good idea to do the cross promotion of your own stuff. You're keeping it kind of in your own world there. I think that's an awesome idea.
Yeah.
Especially since I know I pushed last time to get RevMod their own column their own forum and so forth, but it's not I haven't had a lot of success with the ads. I mean, I've had a lot of success with iAds. I consider success, on apps that don't have a lot of downloads, still getting a couple bucks a day kind of thing. But yeah, for the most part, it gives you, to his point, it probably gives you a lot more control, obviously, of what you're putting out there, rather than maybe your own competition showing up in an ad somewhere on your own app.
Yeah, yeah. There's a lot of discussion going on in the forums about ASO, so App Store optimization. So I would think that taking that free app thing a little bit farther would be to target apps that maybe have a popular keyword or sort of maybe niche, and that don't have a lot of competition in that space, or maybe might be able to pick up some traffic. Robert, have you guys tried anything like that?
Yeah, I mean, we've definitely looked at, we've got a lot of ideas that we're working on at any one time. We've got like 5 different apps, I would say, that we're working on currently. Again, our biggest constraint is waiting for graphics. And so with that, we're definitely targeting, we look at the portfolio we currently have, and we're trying to target, okay, what are the popular items out there in our niche, which is educational apps. And so we're purposely looking for those other areas that we're lacking to go after those other key areas. So we get that broader look across all of our apps in general.
Yeah, it seems like a very smart strategy. Again, just because I know that when I go to look for, when I find an app, if I like the app, then I go and I click and I look at what all the other apps the developer has produced as well. So you get a little bit of that love going on. But yeah, just being able to show up across different genres and then cross-pollinate, so to speak, seems like a good idea. Gerald, have you had any experience with any of that?
Yeah, so as far as the cross promotion,
yeah,
what I do is I cross promote all of my apps within my own apps only. I haven't used any of those services and such, so can't attest to those. Yeah. But from using my own ability, basically what I did is I put a web view in all of my apps, and in that web view I put in it connects to my server, and there's icons for each of my apps, and it's in a scrollable web view, and they can tap on those links to view my other apps, and those links, I monetize those by using link share for that and iTunes. So every time somebody taps on one of those, I get a little bit of money, and when they buy it, that helps as well. So that's kind of the tricky way I do things.
So you're coming at it from a little bit of the affiliate angle as well.
Right.
Okay, that's very smart. So so you're making money whether or not it's your app or not. Ed, any thoughts on that? No.
It all sounds good. It's the cross promotion. I especially like Robert's idea of having links and ads within his games and apps to his other games and apps. So I haven't tried that yet. It's on the list of things to try. I'm a one-man team, so I envy your 6-person team there, Robert.
Yep. And to be more clear too, also within my apps, like for example Texas T, it's 15 levels, and in between the levels, there's an ad inserted, so to speak, promoting a particular game, so which is another game of mine. So after you finish level 1, you have an in-between screen that promotes another one of my apps that you just skip right through it if you want to, and it goes right to the next level.
Now is that is that for the free apps only, or do you do that in paid apps as well?
No, free apps only.
Free apps only. Okay. So you got.
And then, yeah, and then in my like in Air Assault, in that particular game, I've got ads and such in there, but I have in-app purchase, and anytime they do an in-app purchase, it disables all the ads as well as gives them whatever it is that they bought as far as an upgrade.
Very good. No, I think that's a great idea. I think more and more people are going to, have to experiment with those types of things and see how they work. I'm with you, Matthew. If something pays out consistently on a regular basis, even if it's a few bucks, then it's consistent. Consistency is a success, I think. Everybody would want to be, making $1 million a minute, but if you could at least get something consistently making money, then that's bird in the hand kind of stuff, right? So, very good. All right, well, great, Robert. It's good stuff. So, you guys have any plans for your next app? What's in the secret lab?
Yeah, our secret lab, the one I'm currently working on, is a unique take on. Started out as a Hangman style game. We actually are doing it based off of a penguin theme here, and that's a picture of what I'm working on right now.
Okay.
So it's a unique way of just doing a Hangman style game without actually hanging a person, because we're trying to stick with the children's theme. So we want to make sure we don't offend anybody.
It's a good idea. And what happens to the penguin when he does he fall through? Is that just it?
Yeah. Once you get the word correct, then he'll fall through and escape from the app at that point. So. Oh,
so you're setting him free.
Yes. So you're actually rescuing him.
Oh well, that's an interesting twist. Yeah, because usually you're trying to cause harm in some way to the character, right? As opposed to.
Right. So in this case, we're trying to, set the penguin free versus doing any kind of harm.
Have you watched any of the? I'm terrible with names. There's a turtle movie that was made like in 2010, I think. We just watched it the other night with the kids, and the whole movie is kind of the boy meets girl. Boy goes on an adventure around the world, and when I say boy, I mean he's a turtle. He's like a sea turtle, and he goes on this adventure around the world, and on his adventure he runs into all these different things like trash in the ocean, or whaling ships, or all these different types of social issues, right? These environmental issues. So it would be interesting to see a series of apps developed with those concepts in mind. Just environmental awareness or something like that. I mean,
right.
you helping the penguin to escape is kind of an interesting concept.
Yeah, it took us a while to come up with a concept that would work without doing harm to a character of some sort.
Yeah, that's one of the things that my son's, he plays a lot of first-person shooters and all these other types of games, and then everything's geared towards destruction, and war and all these other things like that, and there's not a whole lot of oh look, I saved a patient today, I saved somebody's life today, I rescued a kitten from a burning building. You get 3 gems, so that's good. It is hard to come up with those types of things and break out of that box. So very cool. Well, I want to see that when it's done. So
Sounds good.
Send me a link to that. I want to see it. All right. Well, we're going to wrap things up. We're almost kind of the top of the hour here. Some things that you need to know from a housekeeping perspective is that if you have any kind of suggestions for the show, any kind of topics or anything like that you want to share, you can go over to the developer forums, and there's a Corona Geek forum there. You can leave a comment. There's already a discussion going on over there, like I said, about App Store optimization. So what we're going to do is I've been talking with the guys over at Searchman SEO, and I'm going to try to get them on the show. Apps Codes is coming on. They've already agreed to be on the show. They will be here, think either next week or the week after. No, I think it's week after. Anyway, they're coming up, and then Aptaman's going to be on the show next week, I believe, and they're going to be talking to us about video and using that to promote your apps and things like that. So, if you want to talk about app marketing, you want to talk about monetization, conversion tracking. We were talking about just a moment about ad networks and things like that. Whatever you want to talk about, go over there and post on the forum and let us know, because the topics you pick are what we're going to talk about here on the show. So you are essentially controlling the content of what we talk about. The other thing that you need to know about is that last week Major Magnet was released, and if you hadn't had a chance to try that game out, you should definitely go check it out. It's a fantastic game. It's the best way I can describe it is it's a beautiful game. Everything about it, the graphics, the animation, the audio, everything that they did is consistent. It tells a story, and they use magnets to be able to propel the character through each one of the levels, and so there's a little bit of skill involved, and there's also it's very intuitive and easy for people to get, and it's a lot of fun to play. I killed a whole hour on Saturday just messing with it, going from I think I killed like a whole 10 levels and then moved on to a whole different section, and I'm nowhere near finished with the game, but definitely go check that out. It's something worth looking at. All right, and so we're gonna need to pick a winner for today. So Ed, if you would give me a number between 1 and 10, and let's pick today's T-shirt winner.
So not pie this time, right?
Not pie this time. Yeah, that was Brian's not here today. He's sick today, so
That's right.
Yeah,
favorite number.
Yeah.
Why don't we go with 7?
You're gonna go with 7. All right. So today's winner is gonna be. Nope. I need another one. Matthew, give me a different number. 7's already taken.
What's it up to? Like, how many numbers are we working with here?
Give me a number between 1 and 20, and not 7.
12.
Not 7.
12.
All right. I tell you what, I can't.
15. 22. What?
There needs to be an app for this.
There needs to be an app for this. That's exactly it.
There'll be one by next week. I
No, 12 is taken.
In half an hour, we can write in Corona.
How about 12 minus 7?
12 minus 7.
There you go.
12 minus 7.
Do you want an imaginary number?
No, I'll take a number here. All right, we got Joel Briggs. So 12 minus 7. We'll do that. Joel Briggs is our winner for today. So Joel will be getting a T-shirt for following us on social media and for going over to the giveaway form and filling out and letting us know that he wanted to be entered for a chance to win a T-shirt. So you can find that. If you want to do the same thing and have a chance to win, and you can go over to coronageek.com/giveaway and you can fill out the form there, and we'll throw your name in the hat for a T-shirt. So let me mark Joel before I forget. And so thanks guys for joining us. So be sure to follow us on Twitter, on Facebook, Google+. And Robert, where can people find out more information about Word Hunt, and where can they download the app?
We're pretty much everything's on our website, learninggems.com, and we have links to all 4 of the main stores. We're in Nook, we're in Amazon, we're in Google Play, as well as Apple. So that would be the best place.
So if you don't download this game and play it, you're just not trying hard enough. All right, guys. Well, thanks for joining us on the show today. Thanks for being here. We'll be back here next Monday, 2 p.m. Central, 12 p.m. Pacific, 8 p.m. GMT. Until then, happy coding.